One of the first hardcore shooters I ever played as a kid just got a quality of life update. If you want to guess my birthday, your first hint is that the game in question released 14 years ago. Released in 2008 as a full-scale mod of the original Red Orchestra, Darkest Hour Europe 4445 is a revered classic and personal favorite. And yes, this 14-year-old FPS is still getting regular quality of life updates. And not just that, the devs have announced a new faction, the Italians, to be released this year, accompanied by matching maps, weapons, vehicles, and more. With similar games like Post Scriptum struggling to maintain a player base after only 5 years on the market, how is it that this game built on the same engine as these dinosaurs still has a server up? The short answer is that it's good. It's really good. The gunplay and movement is archaic, clunky, and so slow. But somehow, it is so satisfying. Let's take some time today to figure out why I regularly close out of Hell Let Loose and open up its great-grandfather. That sounded weird. Let's take some time to figure out why I regularly close out of Hell Let Loose and start up its great-grandfather game. Quick overview, this game is a hardcore, large-ish scale FPS utilizing a lot of the core mechanics of its ancestors such as ticket counts, squad-based team organization, team-wide spawns, rally point spawns for your squad, limited class selection, etc. The damage is high. A rifle shot to the head or chest will get the job done. Shots to the arms will cause you to drop your weapon, and a shot to the legs will cause you to stumble. Suppression is brutally effective. Details like these add a lot of challenge, excitement, and immersion that distract you from the fact that the graphics are 2.5 Unreal Engines old. We're going to start with movement because it's the first thing you're going to notice when you hop into one of the 3 servers still standing. Yeah, it's slow. But honestly, if you're coming from Hell Let Loose,
that's good.
Yeah. The game with the slowest running speed ever achieved in a video game, you'll be fine. FPS veterans will know this means you have to plan your routes carefully and to double check the tree line before making a mad dash across any open fields. We'll get to the maps later, but they are a big reason why this game does not feel slow compared to Hell Let Loose. They're a bit more linear and a whole lot smaller. On most maps there are plenty of flanking routes and enterable buildings to keep gameplay fresh, but don't expect to be walking 10 minutes between engagements. Even if you're not able to spawn on a fob or rally point, your default spawn is the next flag back, and on most maps that's not too far. Gunplay is the bread and butter of any FPS, and man, this is some funky butter, or bread, garlic bread I guess. It's a little more difficult than most FPSs, even hardcore FPSs you might be familiar with, due to a couple reasons. Let's start with weapon sway. Present in most games, but especially challenging in Darkest Hour because of how constant it is. Been aiming down sights for a few seconds, weapon sway. Just booked it across the road, weapon sway. MG rounds exploding above your head, good luck even hitting the guy in the trench next to you. At first this can be frustrating because the sway is intense, frequent, and makes it super difficult to hit things. Paired with the fact that there's no stabilize or hold your breath function, you're left with only a few options for returning fire. Number 1, spray and pray baby. It is literally not a bad strategy in this game and it plays out kind of nicely. Suppression is super intense and it doesn't just affect the visuals on screen. When a rifle round cracks past your ear, your weapon jerks around the screen as your character flinches at each passing shot. This is a blessing and a curse. It makes returning fire incredibly difficult, but if you manage to locate the enemy and fire off even a few rounds in their direction, you can start to turn the momentum of a firefight in your favor. Number 2, find something to lean on. Tractor, fence, wall, tree, doesn't matter. The mounting system in this game is simple but essential. Aim down sight when next to or on top of one of these things, and this icon will appear on your screen letting you know you're using that object to support your weapon. Sway is negated and the effects of suppression are reduced. This feature is super important for engaging targets at distance because of the aforementioned lack of stabilize or hold your breath functions. The essence of what makes this game unique is the weapons that are extremely lethal while also being extremely difficult to manage. Firefights at close range are often more extended than in other hardcore FPSs because the chance of a player missing their shots is much higher. To me, this creates much more intense gameplay where you really have to focus your aim under pressure to eliminate threats and progress through the map. If you're a more experienced or cynical FPS player, you might start to form an opinion of how gameplay might go in this game. You say, slow movement speed, extremely high weapon damage, mounting system, this sounds like a camping nightmare where I'm almost always going to just get dinged every 30 seconds from some unseen foe sitting 3 trees deep in the forest. Listen, I can't promise you that won't happen. In fact, here's footage of that very thing happening to me. But what I can promise you is that once you get a feel for the rhythm and flow of this game, you will have plenty of main character moments. The weapon sway, suppression, and shitty iron sights affect the defenders too, and even in perfect conditions it can still be tough to hit a guy running out in the open. Plus, most of the maps are carefully designed to avoid camping spots that have extensive views. In fact, let's talk about the maps. I love the maps in this game. They flow well, there's variety and atmosphere, and the late 2000s aesthetic reminds me of being a kid and playing shit like this instead of doing my homework. In fact, I love them so much, let's dedicate a little bit of time to every single one. Okay, maybe not all of them. Most of the time, you'll be playing an advanced type game mode where the attacking team must capture flags in order to advance through the map. Sometimes one at a time, and sometimes you must capture and hold 2 flags to advance. If you've played a Red Orchestra game, you get the general idea. Nothing crazy there, but the sheer variety of maps available keeps things interesting. Comms, while a huge part of squad, Post Scriptum, hell let loose sort of, aren't really a huge factor in this game. The more milsim folks might turn their nose up at this, but this is kind of relaxing to me. Maybe I want to play a fun, intense, realistic game where each life feels like a story, without some gravy seal yelling in my ear, "Get down and get in the point." There's local chat and squad chat, but it sounds awful, like maybe worse than an actual radio from 1941.
Okay, nothing Michael now.
One detail I love about this game that I need to draw attention to is the ability to pick up a dropped weapon, friendly or enemy. There is nothing that completes a cinematic moment like running out of ammo and grabbing a fallen enemy's pistol as they finally overrun your position, or grabbing the ever important MG out of a dead friendly's hands to keep up the suppressive fire as your teammates advance on the point needed. That is what this game does best. We're all chasing that high of trying to live out a scene from Band of Brothers, and for a variety of reasons, this is one of the games that does that best. I mean, let's just run that clip back. You see what I'm saying? It's chaos, and the only thing you can do is hope the battle swings in your team's favor. Pace and story is where it all comes together. The weird weapon sway, the OP suppression, the comically low running speed, the ability to pick up fallen weapons and equipment, all this stuff we've talked about. It forms a story. The firefights unfold in these ruthless and chaotic ways where each side is struggling to find the focus to hit their target while bullets, grenades, and artillery close in. It's hard to explain, but this game is different. So this game, this beautiful, weird, ancient, quirky game that often has less than 50 players, is getting that major update later this year. I need this game to not die, as our souls are intertwined and I will die with it. So pick up Red Orchestra Ostfront, download this free mod off Steam, and give it a go. Final notes, the MG42 is terrifying. Trying to manage the hipfire is even more terrifying. The axis is always red and the alleys are always blue no matter what team you're on. It's vintage and I like it, let's bring it back. There are no revives. We'll change of pace, it's kind of refreshing actually not to worry about it. Shell casings are cool, they come out of your gun and they lie around where you shot them. Nice touch for an old game. Friendly fire is brutal and there are barely names above your teammate's head. You really have to check the unis, I think that's kind of nice too. Looking at you, hello.